فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. Suratul-Kahfi, Surah number 18, ayat number 6. فَلَعَلَّكَ, then maybe, بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ. Bākhiyun is an ism in the file pattern, so it should not be translated as a verb, which the translators have done. But then I recognize that it's a bit tricky to translate this part. So the easy way, as the translator translates, that you will kill yourself to death. The problem is that is a verbal sentence, not a nominal sentence, but Bākhiyun is ism. So the best way to capture this, and there are other points which causes the translation to be verbose, and you probably know by now that when a sentence does not appear in the standard order, then those additional connotations and emphasis come about. So this part, Bākhiyun nafsaka, the way to translate it is something like this. It would appear that you are the one who frets to extremities to the extent of causing harm to yourself. Now, killing yourself to death is wrong on multiple levels. Though linguistically speaking, it's an okay translation, but it's wrong on multiple levels because this cannot apply to the Prophet ﷺ. That the very thought would never appear to him. The thought of suicide, it doesn't appear to him. And why is that? It explains ala asarihim. Concerned about the consequence of the deeds. It's literally concerned about their consequences, but that does not explain it fully well. So concerned about the consequence of their deeds. And who are they? It's mentioned in the latter part of the sentence. Latter part of the ayat, I should say. And then after that, we straight jump to asafan, and I'll explain why. Asafan is out of sorrow. So the standard order is not maintained on multiple levels, at least in 3 levels. So there are added connotations, and we need to capture those nuances. Now, in lam yu'minu bihazal hadisi is the next part of the sentence, next part of the ayat. In if lam yu'minu, lam is negation, yu'minu, they believe, and lam pushes the primary meaning to the past tense, they did not believe or they have not believed. Bihaza, in this al-hadisi, in this narration. Now, so what is happening over here? First thing we need to understand is this is a if-then statement or a cause-effect statement. But the normal standard word order or construct order is not maintained. The then part comes first and the if part comes later. Fa is then, in is if. So as you can see clearly, the then part comes first and the if part comes later. Not just that, asafan is actually part of the then part. So فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ asafan, that is the then part. And in lam yu'minu bihazal hadisi, that is the if part. So one non-standard order is because of this itself. Why is that? We could try to figure out the plausible reasons. One way to think about it, it's focusing more on the Prophet, where in the then part it describes the consequences, the effects. So that part is given more importance rather than the deeds or the misdeeds, I should say, of those who decided not to follow the Quran. This hadith, the hadith by the way, is in reference to the Quran itself. Interesting, right? So normally what we understand with the term hadith is the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, but Allah SWT has used the term al-hadith to refer to the Quran itself, because hadith literally means narration and the Quran is the best narration. After that, any other narration. Okay. So asafan, as I explained, comes in the first part. Now, asafan, if it comes in the then part, its correct order, or I should not say correct, the standard order is not even at the end. The standard order should be فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ أَسَفًا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ. So that would be the standard order. So 1 deviation, 2 deviation, 3 deviations from the standard order, right? Now, simply put, if you read the if part first and then the then part, then it will help us to understand it. If they have not believed in this narration, that is the Quran, and this has caused you sorrow, out of sorrow, then maybe it would appear that you are the one who frets to extremity to the extent of causing harm to yourself, concerned about the consequences of their deeds. This is the flow of the translation, right? This is the flow. So, Bakhiyun nafsaka, instead of translating the one who causes harm to yourself, we had that verbose statement, the one who frets to extremity to the extent of causing harm to yourself is because of those non-standard order at 3 levels. Right. So we'll read the translation once in a running flow so that it helps us understand the entirety of the message meant in this verse. Then maybe it would appear that you are the one who frets to extremities to the extent of causing harm to yourself out of sorrow, concerned about the consequences of their deeds if they have not believed in this narration, with the Quran. Now, I told you there's a cause-effect relationship type of sentence, but this is actually interesting. This is a threefold relationship: cause, intermediary, effect. So the cause is the in part, in lam yu'minu bihazal hadithi. Intermediary is the asafan part, and the effect is the fala'allaka bakhiyun nafsaka ala atharihim part. Interesting sentence construct, but I have tried to explain to you why we have translated the way we have. This is because to capture all the nuances. So once again, we conclude this like this: fala'allaka bakhiyun nafsaka ala atharihim in lam yu'minu bihazal hadithi asafan. Then maybe it would appear that you are the one who frets to extremities to the extent of causing harm to yourself out of sorrow, concerned about the consequences of their deeds if they have not believed in this narration. So that is the sort of the intended connotation, and that is, I feel, a better way to translate this verse.